future are all happening at exactly the same time. God is in the business of scattering the proud, lifting up the lowly, bringing down the powerful, filling the hungry with good things, and sending the rich away empty. So confident is the singer that this will happen, that the words of the song declare it already done. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, look at what Luke, through Mary, is declaring. Look at what God does, and don't worry about the when. What God is up to in Jesus Christ, working through Mary, is what God is up to throughout the entire Bible. The lowly are raised, the lofty are brought down. In these words, the most important words of the Magnificat, we see what God is all about. God is all about turning the world upside down. The world, and that might just mean you and me, is all about its own accomplishments. We point to our achievements and take pride in our work and all that we have done. We glory in our endeavors and are pleased when others recognize in us the success of our undertakings. Our pride grows and our arrogance expands. Our own self-importance climbs higher and higher, and suddenly we are greater than God. We fail to see those we use to achieve our greatness. We fail to monitor our own behavior. We fail to curb our greed and our need for the best of everything. And before you know it, we're in charge of an automobile company and find ourselves driving to Washington and in an eco-friendly car to beg for money to cover for our own mistakes and hubris. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and sent the rich away empty. It happens, friends. It happens. God is all about turning the world upside down. God seems to be telling us not to get too excited when the world praises us or when we celebrate what we perceive to be our great accomplishments. That can all turn as quickly as a pancake is turned. Through this child that will enter the world, through this most unlikely source, God is going to turn everything we think and believe upside down. The world says, suck up to the rich and the powerful. God says, take care of the poor and the lowly. The world says, take care of yourself and watch out for number one. God says, feed the hungry and clothe the naked. The world says, more is better. God says, if you have two of something, give one to the one who has nothing. This is the great Christian paradox that has all but disappeared from the Christian faith. When churches are more concerned about getting more, they cast their lot with the world, and God turns the world upside down. When Christian people are all about being more prosperous and financially well off, instead of caring for the poor, they cast their lot with the world, and God turns the world upside down. When we look at the homeless and the hungry and those in need of every kind and turn a blind eye and a deaf ear and say that they are not worthy or deserving of our charity and concern, we join in the way of the world, and God turns the world upside down. When we denigrate children and young people and call them bad and immoral, we join with the world, and God turns the world upside down. When we in the Presbyterian Church USA malign gay men and lesbian women and tell them that they are second-class citizens in the kingdom of God and not worthy of full participation in the ministry of Jesus Christ, we join with the world, and God turns the world upside joy of Mary's song is that God's way will prevail. The world will not have the final say. In fact, the world will not be what God created it to be until we cease pursuing our own agendas and begin following God's way. For God's way is the way of true and authentic life. But if we decide that we know better, we better be careful. Because God has always been in the business of turning the world upside down. This new life that has come into the world is something the world does not understand. This new way that is all about giving instead of receiving, about emptying oneself out in selfless service instead of waiting to be served or even saved, about being open to new ways instead of being closed off while defending old ways. When God invited Mary into this unique partnership, God was opening a new way for each one of us to experience life as God meant it to be experienced. These lovely, time-honored words of Mary offer us a song of joy and celebration, but they are also like a velvet-covered hammer. These words show us what God is really up to in coming among us. God comes to challenge everything we think, everything we hold dear, everything we think should be as it is. God comes to turn the world upside down. As God invited Mary into this partnership, so God invites you and me. We may not be asked to bear a child, at least for the men in the room, that will come as a relief. But we may be asked to do other things that may be just as difficult, just as painful, just as important